I discovered that my parents had been secretly swapping out my furniture for months. Then I caught them in the act, plotting to have my sister move into my apartment without my consent. I'm 33, a software developer with a steady 9-to-5 job, living alone in a fantastic one-bedroom apartment I've rented for 3 years. My parents live about 20 minutes away and have a spare key for emergencies, which I'm seriously rethinking now. Over the past month, I started noticing odd changes in my place. At first, it was minor. My dark wood coffee table morphed into a pale oak one. I stood there one night, staring at it for 10 minutes, wondering if I was losing it. I called my friend Mark to ask if he recalled my coffee table's original look, and he confirmed it was definitely darker. When I mentioned it to my mom during our weekly call, she laughed it off, suggesting I was confusing it with furniture from my old place. Then my kitchen chairs changed. I had simple black metal ones with gray seats. Nothing fancy, just functional. But last Monday, I came home to find white wooden chairs with floral-patterned cushions. Floral cushions. I'm a 33-year-old guy who codes for a living and plays guitar in my free time. When would I ever pick floral cushions? Next came the bathroom towels. My plain navy towels were replaced with soft pink ones adorned with intricate embroidered edges. I stood in my bathroom, clutching these towels, questioning my sanity. I've never bought pink towels. Yet there they were, neatly folded in my linen closet. Floral cushions. I'm a 33-year-old guy who codes for a living and plays guitar in my free time. When would I ever pick floral cushions? Next came the bathroom towels. My plain navy towels were replaced with soft pink ones adorned with intricate embroidered edges. I stood in my bathroom, clutching these towels, questioning my sanity. I've never bought pink towels. Yet there they were, neatly folded in my linen closet. Yesterday was the breaking point. I got home to find my entire living room transformed. My black leather sofa was gone, replaced by a beige fabric sectional buried under a pile of throw pillows. My modern black entertainment unit had been swapped for a rustic farmhouse-style piece straight out of a country lifestyle magazine. I called my parents immediately. My dad sounded confused, claiming the landlord must have been doing renovations. My mom asked if I'd been sleep shopping online and forgotten about it. Sleep shopping for furniture I'd never choose. The truth is, the new stuff is nice. High quality, well-arranged, and clearly expensive. But it's not me. It feels like someone's slowly turning my home into a space for someone else, someone who loves pastel colors and farmhouse vibes with tastes completely opposite to mine. I've been obsessively checking my bank accounts. No furniture purchases, no unusual charges. I scoured my emails, my Amazon account, nothing. My girlfriend, Emily, thinks I'm pulling a prank, but I swear I have no clue what's happening. She came over last night, kept asking when I'd redecorated, and I just stood there, fumbling to explain that I hadn't. The wildest part? Everything is always perfectly arranged when I get home. It's not like someone dumped new furniture in my apartment. It's carefully placed, even styled. My books are still on their shelves, my personal items untouched, but everything else is gradually shifting. I'm starting to wonder if I need a doctor. Memory issues run in my family, and I'm scared I might have an early onset condition. But Mark confirmed the changes he's seen, and Emily's noticed them too. Has anyone else dealt with something like this? It feels like I'm stuck in a bizarre mix of a psychological thriller and a home makeover show. I'm considering changing my locks, but what if I'm just forgetting I bought all this? What if something's seriously wrong with me? I'm at a loss. Any advice would be appreciated. Update 1, the cameras confirmed it, thanks to everyone who suggested setting up security cameras instead of assuming I was losing my mind. A special shout out to the person who recommended discreet ones that look like phone chargers. They were perfect. Last Friday, I installed 3 cameras. One in the living room disguised as a charger, one in the bedroom posing as a digital clock, and one in the kitchen hidden as a small speaker. I felt absurd doing it, half expecting to catch myself sleep decorating or something equally ridiculous. On Wednesday afternoon, everything changed. I was at work, troubleshooting code around 2 p.m., when my phone pinged with a motion alert. I opened the app, expecting to see a stray cat, I don't own one, or maybe a maintenance worker I'd forgotten about. Instead, I saw my parents strolling into my apartment like they owned the place. My mom was holding what looked like a home decor magazine, gesturing and talking to my dad. I couldn't hear their conversation, but her body language screamed, "This goes here, that goes there." My dad was measuring my bookcase with a tape measure. They spent 45 minutes in my apartment. 45 minutes. They moved through every room, my mom snapping photos of various items with her phone while my dad jotted notes in a small pad. At one point, my mom sat on the new beige sectional, spreading out what I now realize were fabric swatches on the coffee table. I saved the footage and confronted them that evening, showing up at their house with my laptop, ready for answers. The conversation that followed felt surreal. When I showed my mom the video, her first reaction wasn't guilt or surprise. It was irritation that I'd spied on them. My dad asked how much the cameras cost, saying they looked pretty high-tech. Then things got wild. They didn't even try to hide what they were doing once I caught them. My mom called it a normal family project. Apparently, my sister Lauren is moving back to town in 2 months after her divorce and was supposed to live with me temporarily until she got back on her feet. News to me. According to my parents, they'd been gradually replacing my bachelor pad furniture with items more suitable for a woman to make Lauren feel comfortable during this transition. My mom thought my black leather sofa was too masculine, and the new sectional would be perfect for sisterly bonding. When I pointed out I'd never agreed to Lauren moving in, my mom looked at me like I'd said something absurd. "She's your sister, James?" she said. "Family helps family. You have a one-bedroom apartment, and she needs a place to stay. It's perfect." I countered that it wasn't perfect. It's my apartment, and I never agreed to share it. My dad chimed in with stats about how expensive rent is and how Lauren's ex left her in a financial mess. My mom added that Lauren always loved my apartment's potential and has such great taste that she could help me spruce it up. The most infuriating part? They acted like they were doing me a favor. My mom said things like, "Lauren will help with groceries," and "You'll love having family around again, just like when you were kids sharing a room." I asked about the money. The furniture they'd been swapping wasn't cheap. My dad casually said they'd been investing in Lauren's future to ensure she had nice things around her during her recovery. They'd apparently spent thousands on this redecorating scheme. When I said Lauren couldn't move in, that I hadn't agreed to it, and that they needed to return my original furniture, my mom burst into tears. Real tears. She called me selfish, saying I was abandoning my family when Lauren needed me most. My dad said he was disappointed in how I handled it, that a real man would step up for his sister. I left without resolving anything, but I made 2 things clear. Lauren isn't moving in, and they're never entering my apartment without permission again. I'm changing the locks this weekend. Here's what's nagging at me. Has anyone even talked to Lauren about this? I haven't spoken to her since Christmas when she mentioned staying with a friend after her divorce. Does she know about the furniture swap? Is she expecting to move in? I'm planning to call her this weekend after I change the locks. This whole situation is absurd, but I need to know if she's in on it or as clueless as I was. I'll keep you updated. Update 2, 3 months later. It's been 3 months since I caught my parents redecorating, and after many requests for an update, here's how things have unfolded. First, the immediate aftermath. I changed the locks that weekend and didn't give my parents a new key. My mom called it the greatest betrayal in our family's history. She called me 17 times the first day. I have the call log screenshot to prove it. I temporarily blocked her number. My dad showed up at my apartment the following Tuesday with a locksmith, apparently thinking he could change the locks back. The locksmith, to his credit, asked for my lease and ID. When my dad couldn't prove he lived there, the guy left. Dad sat in his car outside my building for an hour, calling my work phone and leaving angry voicemails. The furniture situation was another ordeal. My parents claimed they'd gotten rid of my original pieces because they were being replaced with better quality items. I suspected they were lying, but proving it was tricky. I had to play hardball, telling them they had 1 week to return my stuff, or I'd file a police report for theft and breaking and entering. Suddenly, my old furniture reappeared. Funny how that works. They delivered it while I was at work, dumping it in the hallway outside my apartment in the most passive-aggressive way possible. My neighbor, Mrs. Lee from 4B, texted me asking if I was moving out because a sofa was blocking the fire exit. I called Lauren that weekend. That conversation could be its own story, but the short version is she was as shocked as I was. She had no idea about the furniture swap or our parents' plan for her to move in with me. She was mortified when I told her what happened. She'd been staying with her college friend Rachel and had recently signed a lease for her own place across town. Family dynamics have been tense since then. My parents went through several phases dealing with their failed plan. First was denial. They insisted Lauren would eventually realize my apartment was the better option. Then came anger. I was ungrateful, selfish, and didn't understand family. Then bargaining. Maybe Lauren could stay on weekends, use my place as a backup, or store some of her stuff there. When I held firm, they launched what I can only describe as a guilt offensive. Every family event became a chance to remind me of everything they'd done for me growing up. My mom would say things like, "I remember when James cared about family," while passing the mashed potatoes. My dad started retelling stories about how close Lauren and I were as kids, emphasizing how I used to look out for her. The tipping point came at my cousin Tom's wedding last month. My mom had apparently told relatives I was going through a rough patch and wasn't speaking to my family. Several aunts and uncles approached me, asking if I was okay or needed help. I realized my parents were spinning the narrative, painting me as the problem instead of admitting their overreach. So, I did something I never thought I would. I told the truth. Everyone who asked got. Reactions varied, but were eye-opening. My Aunt Linda was furious. saying she'd had similar issues with my parents meddling in her kids' lives. My Uncle Mike chuckled, saying it sounded like something my mom would do. My grandma, my mom's mom, pulled me aside and said she wasn't surprised that my mom had always struggled with control issues. The most shocking response came from my cousin Emma, who said she'd always felt bad for me growing up because she noticed how differently my parents treated Lauren and me. She said the whole family had seen it but stayed quiet because it wasn't their place. Hearing that others had noticed the favoritism was validating but frustrating. Why had no one ever spoken up? My parents are now in a sulking phase. They attend family events but barely speak to me beyond a polite hello. My mom makes a point of asking everyone but me how they're doing. My dad talks sports with other relatives while ignoring me. Meanwhile, Lauren and I have grown closer. She's been a great ally when our parents tried to revisit the apartment issue. She's also shared her own stories of their meddling, which has been illuminating. My apartment is back to its original setup with a few new pieces I chose. My black leather sofa has never felt more like home. I kept the cameras, trust but verify, right? I don't regret standing my ground, but it's been emotionally draining. 33 years of family dynamics don't change overnight. Sometimes I wonder if I should have gone along with their plan for peace. But then I remember coming home to a completely redecorated living room without my consent, and I know I made the right call. Boundaries aren't negotiable, especially with family. Update 3. 6 months later, the revelation that shifted everything. I wasn't planning another update, but something happened last week that changed my perspective entirely. Lauren called me last Sunday night. Her voice sounded weary and angry, reminding me of how I felt when I thought I was going crazy. "James," she said, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest." She told me about her new apartment where she'd been living for 4 months. Strange things were happening. First, her bathroom towels were replaced with new ones and her kitchen items were upgraded. Her throw pillows were swapped for ones that matched her sofa better. Sound familiar? Lauren had a key for our parents for emergencies, just like I did. But last week, she came home early from work with a headache and found Mom rearranging her bookshelf and swapping out picture frames. Mom had a whole speech ready. "I'm helping you create a more uplifting space. Some of your things are tied to negative memories you should let go of." Lauren's confrontation with our parents was even more revealing than mine. When she demanded to know what gave them the right to change her stuff, Mom launched into a detailed account of how she'd been managing our living spaces for years. Here's what chilled me. This wasn't new. Mom admitted she'd been doing this to both of us for years, and we'd never noticed. She mentioned rearranging my college dorm decor because it was too juvenile. She talked about tweaking Lauren's apartment setup when she first got married because it wasn't ideal for hosting. She even admitted to updating our wardrobes over the years, removing tacky clothes and replacing them with better ones. Lauren and I talked for 3 hours that night, piecing together our experiences. Remember how I'd sometimes lose my favorite shirts or jackets? Or how Lauren's apartment always seemed to have new decor whenever I visited? We'd chalked it up to forgetfulness or misplacing things. Turns out Mom had been curating our spaces for years, so subtly we'd adjusted without noticing. The furniture swap at my place wasn't a one-off overreach. It was the culmination of a long-standing pattern. The only reason we caught it this time was because Mom got too bold, changing too much too fast. "James," Lauren said, "I don't think the plan was ever really for me to move in with you." She'd been reflecting since catching Mom in her apartment and had a theory. Our parents used the idea of her moving in as a cover for their real goal, completely redecorating both our places to Mom's standards. Lauren figured they'd have stretched the temporary stay just long enough to finish both apartments, then found an excuse for her to move back to her own place. It would have been a perfect plan. 2 perfectly styled homes, and we'd be too distracted by the supposed living arrangement to notice the gradual changes. The more we talked, the more we saw how deep this went. Mom had opinions on everything. Our clothes, furniture, food, even our friends, and she'd been acting on them for years, so quietly we'd adapted without question. Lauren decided that night to change her locks too. She also demanded our parents return everything they'd taken from her apartment and provide a list of every change they'd made over the years. Their reaction was explosive. Dad called me the next morning, furious, accusing me of turning Lauren against them, making her paranoid. Mom sent a flurry of texts, starting with hurt and confusion, escalating to claims that we were ganging up on them and ungrateful for all they'd done. But we didn't back down this time. For the first time, Lauren and I stood united against their manipulation. We agreed to meet them this weekend, not to negotiate, but to set clear terms for our future relationship. No more keys to our homes, no more surprise upgrades to our spaces, no more life decisions made without our input. Some might say we're being too harsh, that our parents love us and we're just trying to help. But here's what I've learned over the past 6 months. Love without respect isn't love. It's control dressed up in a prettier disguise. Lauren said something during our call that stuck with me. How many of our preferences aren't really ours? How many of our choices were shaped by their changes over the years? I've been thinking about that a lot. Looking around my apartment now, with my original furniture back, I feel more like myself than I have in years. But I can't help wondering, what else have I unknowingly adapted to? The strangest part? Lauren and I are closer than we've been since we were kids. It turns out siblings can be allies when they're not competing for parental approval or being played against each other. We're approaching this weekend's meeting with firm boundaries and shared goals. Our parents can accept our independence and have a healthy relationship with us, or they can keep trying to control us and have a very limited one. For the first time, I'm not worried about their reaction. Lauren and I have each other's backs, and that feels stronger than any guilt trip they could throw. I'll update after the meeting, but I'm hopeful. Not because I think they'll change, leopards, spots, you know, but because Lauren and I have. We see the pattern now and won't ignore it anymore. Sometimes, the best family bonds are built on your own terms. Final update, the conversation that set us free. I promised an update after our family meeting, and while I didn't expect it to go the way it did, here's how it all played out. Lauren and I met at a cafe beforehand to review our talking points. We wanted to present a united front and not let our parents derail or divide us. We each had a list of non-negotiable boundaries, agreeing that if they couldn't accept them, we'd both drastically reduce contact. The meeting was at their house in the same living room where I confronted them with the camera footage months ago. Mom had clearly prepared. Tissues were strategically placed, family photos prominently displayed, and she'd baked my favorite childhood cookies. Classic manipulation setup. Dad started, saying he was glad we were finally sitting down like adults to clear up this misunderstanding. He used the word misunderstanding 4 times in his opening. Lauren jumped in first, which surprised me. She's always been more conflict-averse, but something's shifted in her since learning the extent of their meddling. She calmly laid out what we'd uncovered. Years of small changes, a pattern of boundary violations, and the orchestrated furniture swap. Mom's response was predictable. Tears. She said she loved us, only wanted the best for us, and couldn't understand why we were attacking her for caring. But then something unexpected happened. Dad, instead of defending Mom as he usually did, went quiet, completely still. He listened as Lauren listed specific examples from over the years, his expression shifting. When Lauren finished, he turned to Mom and asked, "Linda, did you really take that painting from her room last year?" Mom's composure faltered. "It didn't go with anything else in the room, Richard. It was just sitting there, clashing with everything." "But it was hers," Dad said softly. "She chose it herself." What followed was the most honest conversation our family has ever had. Dad, it turns out, didn't fully grasp the extent of Mom's organizing projects. He knew she occasionally helped us tidy or pick out things for our homes, but he hadn't realized how calculated it was. As we kept talking, Dad's face moved from confusion to concern to horror. When Lauren mentioned clothes that had vanished over the years, Dad looked at Mom and said, "That's why James asked about his college sweatshirt last Christmas. You said he lost it." The cracks in the facade widened. Mom tried to justify it, saying everything was out of love and a desire for us to have nice things. But even she seemed to hear how hollow it sounded when laid out chronologically. Then Dad asked the question that changed everything. "Linda, how would you feel if your mother did this to you?" The silence was deafening. Mom's relationship with her own mother has been strained for years, partly because Grandma used to criticize Mom's choices and fix things in her home during visits. "That's different," Mom said, but her voice lacked conviction. "How?" Dad pressed. "What's the difference?" Lauren and I just sat there, watching our dad realize his wife had been quietly undermining our autonomy for years. It was like watching someone solve a puzzle in real time. The conversation wasn't easy, but it was real. Dad agreed to our boundaries immediately. Mom took longer, but with Dad supporting us, her resistance eventually softened. She apologized, not the rehearsed apology she'd tried before, but a genuine one, admitting she was wrong and our feelings were valid. We set new rules. No keys to our apartments, no entering our homes without explicit permission, no taking or changing our belongings without our consent, and no making plans for our lives without our involvement. It's been 2 months since that talk, and things are better, mostly. Mom still slips into offering unsolicited advice about our decor or lifestyle, but Dad's gotten good at redirecting her. "Linda, they didn't ask for your input," has become his go-to line. Lauren and I have stayed tight through this. We text often, hang out without our parents, and have built a relationship outside the family dynamic. It's odd having a sister who's truly on my side for the first time as adults. My apartment has never felt more like mine. I've added new pieces over the past few months, things I chose that reflect my style. Every time I see my black leather sofa or dark wood coffee table, I'm reminded I'm in control of my space. Lauren's been redecorating her place too, deliberately picking things Mom would probably hate.